All right, guys, let's get going. We have Mr. David Lecko here today from DealMachine. He's actually the founder and CEO of DealMachine. And the reason I wanted to have David on, I met David years ago at a real estate meetup here in Tampa, but I've always liked David's software. And when I met him, I said, you know what? I wish I was smart enough to make software because it's super cool that somebody has the vision to do something like that and can still, and can pull it off. We can all dream of something like DealMachine, but the fact that you were able to have the background to build something like this and not just have it be like a cheesy app, because there's a lot of those out there. And, we'll get into all the things that DealMachine can do, but, you started with a great product and now it's even better. So, I believe so strongly in driving for dollars. That's why I wanted to have David on. So David, tell everybody a little bit about you and how you got started in real estate.
Yeah. So, man, it was back in 2017. I was working for a company 60 hours a week. It was great because I'm the type of person that wants to invest for a longer term return. I wanted to learn as much as possible so that I could retire early, right? I wanted to get that knowledge so that later I could exploit it. But 2 years in, I'd been sleeping with my computer under my pillow because those 60 hours often came when a tech support call for this company would come in after 10 p.m. when I was sleeping. So it's easier to just pull the computer up right there and fix the problem and go back to sleep. Well, I was at my best friend's wedding 2 years, and I get through the ceremony with no tech calls. But as soon as I'm digging into my salad, David, my phone rings and I know it's a customer support call. So I scurry away from the loud music just in time to slide the phone open to accept the call. And I get in my car, push my steering wheel in, put the seat back, get my computer out, and then answer that tech call. And 15 minutes later, I come back, everyone's finished eating. And my best friend's wife, the bride, says, well, where were you? And I said, I just had to do this work call. And she goes, they should hire someone else. And I felt like she didn't get it because I'm the type of person that loves doing extra hard work that others aren't willing to do. But I thought about it and I felt, well, she's actually right. It's been 2 years. I've learned a lot. If I'm going to work this hard, it's going to now be for me. So I went on to figure out what I was going to do next. And I realized the owner of that company also had 5 rental properties. And I'd been socking as much money away in my Roth IRA since my internships in college. So I was very confused why somebody like that would buy rental properties. And I asked him and he said, well, your stocks, like they go up and down. And that really twisted the knife in my stomach because I had definitely lost money in the short term, right?
Yeah.
But he said on the property side in Indianapolis, which is where he was, if you buy it right and manage it well, it's always going to kick off cash flow. So that light bulb went off. And I thought if I want to retire by 40, I can just reverse engineer that to know I need 15 properties that cash flow at 500 each. So I went looking for these properties and was quickly scratching my head because I was looking on Zillow at what the properties were going to what they were actually listed for. It shows you the average expected mortgage payment as well.
Right. Yeah.
And then I would go to Rentometer to see what it could rent for because I didn't know what stuff rented for. But nothing was going to rent for more than what the mortgage payment was. So I was really confused. And he didn't mean to discourage me, but I asked him and he said, well, I got these properties in 2008, right after the crash and had some really great deals. So it'd be a lot harder to find properties like this now. But I'm the type of person, David, that doesn't like to be told no. So I went to a real estate meetup, found the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, and the meetup had a bunch of people doing deals. And so I knew I just needed to change my strategy. So everybody in the meetup was marketing to properties that were not for sale that they felt would want to sell at some point and at a discount. And so that's when I started looking for rundown properties and sending them mail asking if they wanted to sell their house. But 2 months in, I see a property I've written down that just has a paint truck and ladder out there now. It's looking better. I'm like, what's going on? My stomach actually dropped when I realized somebody bought it like 3 weeks ago, and I've had it on my list and done absolutely nothing with the list, right? I didn't reach out, but I also felt like it was my deal. And so I immediately started putting together mail that night. And man, it took a long time. I had Friends, the TV show on, and it took about one whole episode to get 2 pieces of mail, like printed out. And it was so slow. And I used that weekend, I was like, I need something different. Something needs to be better about this. So I went and put together, using the very basic development skills that I had, like a widget on my phone that had a Google map so that I could pin the house, and that would trigger mail to be sent by this other company that I found that could connect to like an app. And so I used that for 6 months, ended up getting my first deal. After I got that first deal, the meetup leader, her name's Brittany Wicks, she saw and I told her what I was using, and she said, well, I'll spend $1,000 to try any new marketing. I come to Indianapolis to buy 30 homes a month. I run this meetup so people can bring me their deals, and I also do my own marketing. And I mean, my jaw dropped when she said that. It's like, I'm not trying to sell this. What are you talking about? But I figured it might be worth figuring out how to get it on her phone, because it was just like, I developed it. You could put your own apps on your own phone as a developer, but you can't do that with other people's phones unless it's on the App Store. So at the job I was working, when I sold something, they'd say at the team meeting, David is a deal machine. And I like the way that sounds. So in a hurry to find a name, I was like, we'll call this thing Deal Machine.
That's funny.
And so that's why it has a name. It wasn't meant to be a business, but that's definitely become the most popular app for specifically driving for dollars. And of course, we do a lot of other things too. And so in a nutshell, that's why I got started.
That's awesome. That's a great story. I talked to so many people that like, it seems like Rich Dad, Poor Dad was their catalyst for getting into this business, but everybody in here, it's, like-minded. They want to build a life outside the corporate 9-to-5, workforce, right? Doing real estate investment and doing all these things is just a way you can have that freedom, right? It's not like it's easy and it's passive, right? You've got to go out and work, but once you build that portfolio, it becomes more passive. So how did it go for you after that? I mean, like, I know that I believe you and most of your team use the app for your own personal investing, do you not?
Yes, I've got
Still
5
to
deals
this
under
day?
contract this month.
Right.
Yeah, and I've got 5 deals under contract this month. When I was first getting started, I didn't have the W-2 income that I would need to build a rental portfolio, but that was always my goal, as I kind of mentioned. So I was finding really great deals, and a friend of mine that had a big W-2 in Chicago decided he'd pay for the money to buy the property and to fix it up and then put the mortgage in his name. But I was finding such good deals, he was actually getting all the cash back, which is what we know is the BRRRR strategy, right? You buy, you rent, you renovate, refinance, repeat. You can recycle your money because you end up creating enough equity to cover what would normally be required as the down payment. So I was also getting 50% ownership of these homes once they were stabilized. So that is how I got my first 5 homes, was before I had enough money to go buy properties myself. I was in it hustling to go find the properties, and then I would get half the cash flow as well. And it was like basically free properties because of the work I was doing to find such great deals. So that's how I got started to eventually get that freedom, was using the BRRRR strategy and finding a financial partner.
Yeah, that's if for everybody watching, if you start finding those deals and you get really good at finding the deals, the opportunities that opens up, like David's talking about, finding partners and finding people to invest and all that, it just opens up the floodgates to those opportunities, especially if you're going to the real estate investor meetup groups and you're talking to people and you're finding, those like-minded folks that want to do something with you. So, David, I want to talk to you about something that you guys just recently did. And, so you've got this Driving for Dollars app, and then it evolved into really just a lead, wholesaling investing platform, right? You don't have to drive for dollars anymore. You can go out or you can go on the platform and build a list like you could on other platforms, right? And you have all this data. But recently you guys said, hey, let's do something like really super crazy, and give all the skip trace data that we're bringing in just included in the subscription. We're not going to charge people for skip tracing anymore. If you sign up for DealMachine, we're just going to give it to you. And now Matt, that works for David, was just down here, and we had dinner and we talked about this. So I know a little bit about the decision, but what was going through your head when, as an owner of a company where you make money, a lot of money on skip tracing, what's going through your head when you say, hey, I'm just going to give this away for free now?
So because the business wasn't meant to be a business, when Brittany Wicks wanted to use my app, I actually put it on the App Store as a free app. Now, she needed to send mail, so I charged her for mail. And to help me with the cost of making the app in the first place, I charged $2 per mail because it was meant to be a low volume driving for dollars strategy that's very lucrative,
right?
Because not many people are willing to put in the time to build that unique list. We had the biggest improvement in our business when we changed the mail a few months later to $1 instead of $2 and introduced a $50 monthly subscription. It was wild because people spent 10 times more money, and just because they had a mental block of paying so much for that postcard that you could get in bulk for 40 cents, right?
Yeah.
So as the business has gone on, we've lowered the price of mail, and people have sent more mail and typically have paid more of the monthly fee to do that. And so this was just the next iteration, we realized people hate being nickeled and dimed. Yeah. So we removed the incremental skip trace cost, which is anywhere from 8 to 15 to 20 cents, depending on where you're getting that data, and including it inside the app for a monthly fee. And so that's just played out for us time and time again. And that's why we actually came up with unlimited contact information, because we realized people hate being nickeled and dimed.
Yeah. It's still, man, as a business owner, I still have to believe you're like, I hope this works out. I hope this was a good play, because it's, it was huge. It had to be a big revenue source, right? For all that skip tracing. So to do that and to give that value to your customers in hopes that, like, this is going to attract more customers. We're going to give away all this revenue, hopefully to bring more people in to utilize our service, right? So it still had to be a big deal for you.
Yes, there are risks, but that's kind of what makes me feel alive, is to think I could take a risk that no one else is willing to take in order to do something that I truly feel is better for me as an investor. So I got to believe other people are going to think that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I applaud you for doing it, because like you said, I've talked to people in wholesaling for 10 years, and that's a frustration, is they do get nickeled and dimed to death, right? You got to pay for this and this and this. And before you know it, you're paying $500 a month for all these different things before, and even if you're not closing a deal, right? You still got that going out. So now you have a platform in DealMachine where no matter what you're doing, if you're driving, actually physically driving for dollars, if you're virtually driving for dollars, if you're sending mail, no matter what your strategy is, you can use DealMachine for that strategy. It's not just driving for dollars anymore, right? It covers the board now.
100%. So one of my favorite lists is the tax delinquent list, people who may be going into foreclosure, and people that may be going into that probate process, but the process hasn't started yet. Those niche lists alone, I mean, you could pull from DealMachine. There's 300 ways you could filter properties, senior owners, yada, 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 all that stuff. But those are some of the three that are my favorite. If you're not going to take the time and drive for dollars, just prefer to take a faster route. I actually bought a property. People always wonder, why would somebody sell their house at a discount? Well, I pulled a property that was pre-foreclosure. Tax delinquent rather. and ended up getting a call from a orthodontist in Utah who bought 6 properties in Indianapolis. Then the guy who advised him and was planning on renovating the properties totally disappeared. So he had these rundown properties that weren't worth his time scrambling to find the right contractor because he's making too much money as an orthodontist, right? So he was just happy to sell it $20,000 less than what he paid for it to me 3 years later. And then that was a decent deal for me. And that's just prime example of why some tax delinquent list has a lot of motivation and you could find a good deal that way. So, I mean, those are some other things that you could do with DealMachine. And I think the other thing, if somebody's just getting into wholesaling, it's like, what the heck's this property worth? So we've got a comping tool that also connects to an AI assistant that you can just ask, analyze this for a wholesale deal, and it'll break down comps and help you figure that out. Just as like eliminate analysis paralysis, right? When you don't have anyone to talk to or ask, and it just gives you a second opinion to be like, yep, okay, I think I got the numbers figured out on this deal and know what to offer.
Yeah, that was another great add-on that you guys just recently did with last year. Was it third quarter last year? You rolled that out, but very cool, a very cool addition to DealMachine. Also, you've added how many data points now? Is it in the 70s? The different, data, motivation criterias or whatever you want to call it.
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely over 150 different filters. Yeah, absolutely. And then with the combinations, obviously that creates a crazy amount of combinations.
Right. So you guys can stack them and do this. I want to pop this up on the screen here real quick. If you guys want to hop into DealMachine and get a free trial, 7-day free trial, and just go in and look at all the filters, look at the data that it gives you. Because again, you don't have to skip trace anymore. When you pull up a property, there's an owner card or owner cards that you can click on. You go on there and it tells you their email address, their phone number, their mailing address, all those things, and it's just incredible. So if you want to pop on there and do that, take a look at it. You can do it now or after we're done here. But David, since we're on Wholesaling Partners, this is a Wholesaling Partners podcast for a new community that I created to really team people up to find, JV partners or find mentors or, just other new people in the business to work with. I always like to ask this of my guests is how instrumental were partners in the business to you when you started going? I mean, I'm assuming you just didn't go at it alone, right? You had to have some influence.
So, as I said, it wasn't meant to be a business. Partners were a huge factor, but not. Let me explain how. It's a very. I like to share this with the full context. So, it wasn't meant to be a business, but it kind of became one when I had to put it on the app for Brittany Wicks. And nobody really knew about the app, right? So we didn't have any revenue other than Brittany's contribution. I did start going to events because I thought if I could go to where real estate investors are, maybe the person throwing the event would like me and or the app enough to share it, from their stage. And so I went to the first one was Sean Terry's event. And Sean Terry did not share it from stage or anything like that. But I met Max Maxwell, who was an attendee of the conference there. He was not like a big YouTuber yet. I mean, I think he had 1,000 followers on Instagram, but he had posted a few vlogs, and his 5th vlog was about using DealMachine. And thank goodness, just happened to be right when he started taking off, right? And a few months later, I felt like he had 100,000 subscribers. So we rode that wave. There was no, there was no deal or anything like that, right? He was just sharing things that he really liked. But then I realized, I was like, man, if a different technology came around and we're like, we want to pay, Max, then he might promote that other thing. So I was quickly like, hey, let's create some type of structure where I could pay for a referral. Mm-hmm. And so then everybody at that time also kind of jumped on the bandwagon and was like, hey, DealMachine's this great app. And, you've been a great partner for us. So that's how the partners have come into play. Is it's been DealMachine has turned into a business, obviously, and hugely dependent on partners like yourselves, word, right? Because people are coming to you for learning how to become financially free. And so when you recommend something, that has weight. And that is why DealMachine exists, is because people like you have used it, trust us. Thank you so much. But then the people that trust you also end up using it. So that's how partners have become a big portion and reason why DealMachine exists.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And let me explain to everybody back when I started wholesaling, because I was I had heard of Sean Terry and listened to some Sean Terry stuff, and wholesaling was starting to get going. It was becoming more and more popular. But, so the strategy back then was to hop in your car, to go drive for dollars, take a legal pad with you, and just write down addresses, right? And then you write down the addresses, and then you come back home, you get on the county website, you look up the owner, right? Here's the owner, here's the mailing address. Let's send them a letter, right? That was the strategy. And it was very time consuming. So when I started doing it, because I was out of, I'd been in corporate America too. I'd worked for mortgage companies and banks and all that stuff. And I didn't want to go sit at the computer and look up a list of leads. Right? It wasn't what I envisioned when I got into real estate. So I would, I would write down the list, but with no intention of calling them. But I would go to the house and I would just stick a note on the door, and I'd say, "Hey, I'm a local investor. I saw your house was vacant. Call me." Because I didn't want to look for their address. I didn't want to send out mail. I didn't want to, I didn't know how to find their email address or their phone number or anything like that. So if I would have had a tool like DealMachine when I started, man, it would have 10 times what I was doing. Right. And I did well because I went out and full-time crushed it and went out and drove, put notes on doors. But if I would have had that, and that's why when I came across DealMachine, I'm like, I've got to tell people about this. This is an amazing tool. Right. So, I can't even imagine, David, how many countless people you've helped with this. I want to talk about one guy really quick that you highlight a lot, or a couple, and that's Ryan Haywood. Tell everybody about Ryan real quick if you can, and maybe others like Ryan, but the amount of success Ryan has had with just the DealMachine app.
Yeah. So Ryan, he co-hosts the DealMachine podcast now, but in 2019, he was working a sales job selling satellite internet, I think, and he was the top salesperson. His boss thought he was making too much, so he dropped the commission that Ryan was making per closed deal there, and that really pissed him off. And so he went looking for a different, he quit that job with nothing to do, honestly, because he was so mad. But he heard about a wholesaling challenge, 14-day wholesaling challenge, or a 30-day wholesaling challenge. And so he actually started looking for a rundown house. He made $8,500 within 14 days. And then now he's like a top DealMachine customer. He's done 425 deals. And that made that his, primary source of income. So it's a great success story. And that's why I asked him to be the co-host of the DealMachine podcast. So he's able to weigh in as somebody who's using DealMachine to do a lot of wholesale deals. And like I said, support his family. He's got 3 kids and a wife. His wife's involved with the business now too. So he's been a great story.
For everybody watching, where would they find the DealMachine podcast?
Yeah, so you could do Apple Podcasts or Spotify are the 2 most popular places. Just Google DealMachine podcast. Start with episode 65, actually, 7-day challenge to getting your first deal.
Right. I'm glad you brought up the challenge for the members of Wholesaling Partners community. Matt and I are doing a wholesaling challenge starting on the 30th. So in 7 days, we're going to launch a Driving for Dollars challenge for anybody that wants to join that. So Great way, we're going to do it in the community. We're going to build out a room just for the challenge, and it's a great way for other people to get in there and encourage each other, share their progress, and do all that. We'll download the app, and Matt and I will come on at regular intervals through the challenge, and give you your homework and give you your assignments and all that. But they're a great way to get out there and really start crushing it. So, David, where do you see DealMachine going? What do you have on the roadmap for DealMachine? Hey, can you give us any secrets?
For 2024, our goal is actually to, we just came out with the unlimited contact info, totally changed the business model of skip tracing, provided that lack of nickel and diming to investors to get the contact info and get in touch with homeowners.
Right.
In 2024, we want to continue to make that data even better. We want to sweat the little details of areas where we want to spend extra time and provide and make sure we're the number one solution for data for real estate professionals. So you're going to see it's like the 80-20 rule, right? So like what we've done with unlimited skip tracing has been phenomenal. And the reason why over half people signed up for us in the last 3 months, but the devil's always in the details. So it always takes a lot more time to get that final 20% of making it even better and truly the very best world-class thing that it can be. So we're in 2024, we're focused on, instead of 150 filters, let's make it 180. And let's actually get better LLC searching and some private investigator tools inside the app, right? Beyond skip tracing. So that's
right.
Stuff that I'm really excited about, but it's not like, it's like, it's easy to get shiny object syndrome, and we're trying to eliminate that by really tripling down on what's been a great success so far.
Yeah. Sometimes people, I see that with CRMs a lot, and I talk about it a lot. A lot of the CRMs are built on the same platform, which is Go High Level, which is an amazing platform, but it can do so many things that CRM builders think I have to put everything in it. Right? I have to, every possible thing I have to jam in here, and it gets confusing for people. And one of the things that I've really liked what you guys have done, especially in the last year with DealMachine, is really simplified it, right? So if you're in the app or on the desktop, the website, it's very similar and it's very easy to navigate, right? And I think you guys strive to do that. Just, let's make something where it doesn't take them a month to learn how to use it. Like these complicated CRMs, we want you to be able to download it and use it today.
Yeah. So, that's definitely, thank you so much for the compliment. What we've learned, and we've made this mistake 4 years ago, is like everybody would request features. We'd build it. It'd make it hard to use, hard to learn. So we focus heavily on simplicity and ease of starting. And a huge other thing is it's a mobile app that does exactly what you could do on the desktop. And I feel like for some reason, real estate tools, they make a companion app that does some things, but not all the things. And it looks different, right? So, but ours is seamless. It does everything on your phone as well as on the desktop, and it looks the same. So I'm really happy that you noticed that.
I can't see how anybody wouldn't notice that, right? It's so, it's so much there. Yeah.
Well, because investors, they're always out.
Yeah.
And that's why we thought it was so important to be everything.
So you need the phone app. Yeah. So the phone app, for people that haven't been on, DealMachine, and I urge you to go and sign up for the 7-day, free trial, download it to your phone and try it out. But for those of you that have never been on there, so you're out driving for dollars, and you've got the routes on your phone app, and you can pull up in front of the house, and it's, you take a picture of the house and you can instantly send a postcard, right? They're already loaded up, and you just hit sends the owner a postcard. You can go into their data, card. You have their phone number, the cell number. So if you want to give them a call right there while you're at the house, if you want to send them an email, you've got their email that you can send right from the house. And again, you don't have to skip trace. It's already all there, right? So yeah, for investors, for wholesalers, the app is everything, right? It's what you need to do it. And again, if you're not using DealMachine for driving for dollars, you can sit down at your desk, pull list. What can you download on a list now? You guys just upped it to 30,000 downloads a month, right? You can look up endless properties, but if you want to download it, load it up into a dialer, if you want to take the list and put it in a cold email marketing system or whatever you want to do with it, you can download 30,000, right?
Correct. So there's 3 plans. The starter is 10,000. The pro is 30,000. And then the team's plan is 100,000. This is all per month.
Right.
And so if you were skip tracing at like 14 cents, that would cost $14,000 to download 100,000, but the team's plan is just 500 a month, right? So similar type of savings on all the levels of plans, but just that's the most extreme, right? Is you're like, wow, this is already skip trace. It already has the contact info.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. What are you charging for postcards now on those plans?
Postcards, yeah. So let's see. We let me look it up real quick.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. Boom.
No, it's all good. So okay, yeah. So if you don't have 59 cents, right, with the postage included. But I know if you're buying in bulk, you can even get it down, I believe, to like 49 cents. If you're committing to buy a big portion. But yeah, just one-offs, 59 cents.
Yeah. Yeah. So crazy cheap. I mean, very competitive pricing. You probably beat a lot of people with that. But it's, but again, so for anybody that's new, and a lot of the people in my community are brand new, driving for dollars is the best way to get started, right? Mail, just buying lists, sending out mail, super expensive. With driving for dollars, you're building a very specific list of properties are vacant, they're distressed. You're sending out mail, you're calling them, you're emailing them. You guys have looked at a lot of data about response rate and what it takes to get a deal, right? And I've done videos on this, but let's talk about that for a minute, David. Driving for dollars compared to other things, compared to making phone calls, compared to just sending out to an absentee list. Tell us the stats on driving for dollars.
In Indianapolis, you're probably spending $5,000 if you're sending a bulk list, or you're probably spending like $1,000 if you're driving for dollars and marketing to that list. The reason is because driving for dollars is a niche list. Not a lot of other people, I should say this, the biggest investors may not be doing because it's very time consuming. And so you could use your time as the advantage when you're a new investor. Go build that list that you can't buy anywhere. And they're hearing from less people. So that means they're going to respond to your postcard instead of someone else's. And they're also not going to be, competing with asking other investors what price that they can do and making you guys bid against each other. They're just talking to you. So that's why it costs less to market to that list. You're sending less mail to smaller lists to get the same deals or even better deals.
Right. One of the reasons why I like driving for dollars is because when I started, I taped, like I said, I taped the note on the door. I was interested in buying their house, but I always felt like that made it more personal, right? These people might get a lot of junk mail, right? At the time when I first started, yellow letters were really big, right? But everybody was sending them. So people with a vacant house would get 30 yellow letters a week, right? All these people want to buy their house. So they just picked one, right? I'll just call this one. But with driving for dollars, it's like they know you were there. They know you were at the house. You left a note for them or whatever. But what I like about the app, right? So you can take a picture of the property that just goes onto the postcard when you send it. And what you can do is you can take your phone and stand in front of the house and do one of these numbers where you're like, hey, I'm here at your house. Are you selling this place? Right. And that goes on your postcard. And they're like, dude, that dude was in front of my house. Right. So it gets their attention. Right.
Right.
And I think that's a great feature. You can use Street View, correct? Off of Google.
Yeah.
But you can also.
Yeah, so that's the thing is if you have like a 9-to-5 job and so there's no sunlight once you get home, right, you could still drive for dollars virtually, which yes, we do use the imagery from Google, but we bring it into the app. And when you see and you're lined up looking at a house, you can add it from the app to build your driving for dollars list that way as well. And if you're curious how recent the photo is, in the bottom right corner, it says when that photo was taken.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that's something on the like the virtual, and let's talk about that for just a second. But people, you pull in data from Google Street Views for your virtual driving for dollars, and they update it pretty regularly. But people still say, well, that might be 3 months old or 6 months old or whatever.
Yeah, in person's always better.
Right.
But if you can't do it in person because there's no daylight, then definitely do the virtual.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to add to it. So many properties that I've wholesaled, like a lot of them some of them have been vacant for years. Right. So don't let that, if it looks bad on Google Street Views or on the virtual driving for dollars, is there's a good chance it's still bad, right? It's
Right.
so don't discredit that. Like David said, if it's great if you can't, if there's some reason you've got kids, you can't get out and drive for dollars, you don't have a car and you just want to do it virtually, whatever the scenario is, don't discount the virtual on that. So
100% agree.
right. So David, I'm going to wrap it up because I know you're a busy guy, but I really appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah.
Again, I've always loved your guys' product. You continue to amaze me with the improvements you make on it, and I wish you just a ton of luck moving forward and having a great year.
Thank you so much, David. You're a great interviewer. I really enjoyed the conversation today.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I will talk soon. And again, for everybody watching, Driving for Dollars challenge this month. I'll be putting out stuff on it, but join my wholesaling partners, my.wholesalingpartners.com. And if you want to try DealMachine, use the link right there, DealMachine.com /toolbox is my affiliate link there. So sign up, try it out, and I will guarantee you love it. All right. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, David.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.